Good morning, everyone. I'm delighted to welcome all of you to the FedEx Express JA International Trade Challenge Regional Finals 2023. It's extremely fitting to speak to young, aspiring entrepreneurs like you today on World Entrepreneurs Day, a day to celebrate innovation and empowerment of entrepreneurs and their leadership throughout the world. In our audience today, we have our student finalists from across the EMEA region. We have our distinguished judges, as well as our very own FedEx volunteers and partners from JA. That's 4 groups of people that over the last 17 years have made this meaningful competition such an enduring success. What makes this competition more meaningful is the challenge that we set each year for the students, which are real-world problems facing businesses today. While established leaders continue to apply their industry experience to address customer needs, our student finalists here are attuned to what future customers want. That's why competitions like these are important. It provides a learning platform which often cannot be found in the classroom, where aspiring entrepreneurs like you can rub shoulders with the business leaders of today and share your ideas. And that's an experience all of us benefit from. In the next 2 days, you will compete with the best brains in the region. It will be tough but rewarding. Whether you come out on top or not, this experience will help sharpen your business planning, creative thinking, and presentation skills. All of these will be invaluable in your future careers and the varied roles that you will definitely play. I look forward to seeing you in action. I know that everyone here today is going to come together to make this a memorable experience. Be sure to collaborate and learn lots from each other. Make new friends, and above all, have fun. Best of luck to all of you. Now, let me shift gears and talk a little bit about entrepreneurship and the opportunities that lie ahead of you. The business environment we're operating in today is vastly different from what it was last year. Intensified geopolitical tensions, high inflation, and a changing operating environment are creating new challenges for businesses of all kinds. The recovery from the global pandemic continues to cast complexity in the global supply chain. But the good news is the pandemic has also spurred a surprising uptick in entrepreneurship. Behind this uptick are the rising number of young entrepreneurs. A recent study has shown that since the pandemic began, 44% of people your age are now more interested in starting a business of their own. There's never been a more exciting time to build a startup in EMEA, a region that has been known for being a fertile ground for entrepreneurs. Latest data shows that in H1 of this year, funding to startups in Asia has been over $36 billion. As I welcome all of you here today, you are our Gen Next, our future leaders, who will play a significant role in not only creating value for your organizations, customers, and shareholders, but also disrupting for good, for the betterment of people and communities everywhere. Remember that entrepreneurship is not only about starting a new business. It is about building a vision and motivating people around you to come together to act collectively and solve problems innovatively. One can bring an entrepreneurial mindset to any context and any profession or career that you choose to pursue. Prior to joining FedEx, I started and ran a technology and content solutions company for over 10 years to help global publishers stay ahead of the digital revolution. Post the acquisition of my company, I put on a different hat and supported startups as an investor to bring new technologies to market. In my current role at FedEx, I try to bring that same entrepreneurial mindset to achieve our vision of making supply chains smarter for everyone and grow our business in the region. I can't wait to hear the fresh perspectives and creative thinking that you will bring to the challenge over the next 3 days. Remember, win or lose, it's the experience that matters. Each one of you should feel proud of getting to the final stage and competing with equally bright minds for the top spots. Consider this as a launching pad, a place where you can learn important skills such as teamwork, networking, problem solving, critical thinking, and innovation from each other. Now let's talk about what opportunities lie ahead. Why is disrupting for good critical in the post-pandemic world? As concerns for the environment continue to grow among business leaders, one pressing question overshadows all others. How can entrepreneurs help in building a better and more sustainable future? The reality is that many of the environmental issues facing businesses today are the byproducts of the Industrial Revolution, a period marked by the advent of manufacturing based on heavy industrial machinery to improve efficiencies and business outcomes. As leaders across the world now turn to advanced technologies such as renewable fuels to help build sustainable operations, it's critical for future entrepreneurs to start off on the right foot, considering both the economic benefit and the environmental impact. So how can we create the most fertile environment possible to foster future-ready entrepreneurs? This is something we think about all the time at FedEx, because a big part of our job is to provide small businesses with access to the global stage and connect people with possibilities for a better future, a future that's more equitable and sustainable. And the short answer to this question lies in 3 key trends that are shaping the path for future entrepreneurs. First, today, we are all living in an interconnected world. Not only have we seen the blurring lines between the physical and virtual worlds, thanks to modern technologies, we have also seen a growing number of bilateral and multilateral trade agreements signed between Asia and the rest of the world over the past 3 years. It's particularly worth noting that entrepreneurship in Asia will have immense new opportunities to join this interconnected commerce. Why is that? If you look at what's happening around the world in the wake of the supply and demand shocks brought on by the COVID-19 pandemic, there is a clear trend that businesses are redesigning their manufacturing and supply chain strategies. At the center of this shift is the development of a more diversified sourcing strategy with demand for manufacturing in countries like Vietnam, Thailand, India, and the Philippines set to grow. You might wonder, as the world faces record high inflation, energy shortages, geopolitical tensions, does it still make sense to be an entrepreneur and start a new business? Well, the short answer is yes. Economic stresses often promote a new wave of entrepreneurialism if you look back at history. We are fortunate in EMEA to have one of the most robust and fastest growing startup ecosystems. The startup ecosystem in India, where I am based, is fast becoming the third largest in the world with over 100 unicorns. So opportunities are aplenty for aspiring entrepreneurs to grow. The investment environment in EMEA is also maturing, with venture capital and private equity growth surpassing North America. While there is growing support for entrepreneurs and startups from venture capitalists and global funds, competitions like ITC provide young people such as yourselves with a platform to learn and think about how exactly you can seize the opportunities in this increasingly interdependent, interconnected world. In these next few days, you'll be working on a challenge close to the real-world problems businesses are facing today. You'll have the chance to delve deep into the complexity of global trade, government regulations, and the nitty-gritty of supply chain operations, all of which are critical to the success of any international business. The second trend I'd like to talk about is the democratization of technology. Technology is leveling the playing field for big and small players, providing powerful intelligence and data insights to help young entrepreneurs compete on the global stage. Leaps in technological innovation in areas like artificial intelligence, cloud computing, and software robotics are powerful democratizing factors in business, allowing companies to scale processes more quickly than ever before and reduce barriers like infrastructure or cost. Today, with AI-powered chatbots and smart recommendations, even lean startups can deliver personalized experiences and exceptional customer service to build deep customer relationships. The democratization of technology also means aspiring entrepreneurs can start their business much more easily and at a lower cost thanks to cloud-based technologies. At the same time, as the barriers to entry have become lower, competition has intensified. Just simply look at the sheer number of participants we have here today. Compared with the very first edition of the JAITC, where just 300 students participated, this year, with the virtual format, we had nearly 5,000 student participants from across 10 EMEA markets. So how can you stand out in the crowd? And how can established businesses play a role in helping aspiring young entrepreneurs succeed? At FedEx, we're applying powerful data insights generated from our global network to guide us to make supply chains smarter for everyone. We have unique insight into how entrepreneurs are spurring their own growth. Many are moving up on the digital adoption curve faster than before, building online businesses to serve customers across the globe. Whether it's digital versions of old analog products or services, existing products enhanced with better digital features, or entirely new offerings, the vast array of technologies available to even the smallest of startups has been game-changing. Indeed, the future will be shaped by data-driven, innovative technologies. As digitization and digital transformation has become essential for businesses to remain competitive, you have the opportunity to rewrite the business rulebooks, helping legacy businesses digitize their services to become future ready. Democratization of technology has also broken geographical barriers, and startups are now able to think globally. Research shows that 40% of Indian startups that received seed funding rounds between $500,000 and $5 million in 2022 are building for global markets. Most are building software across categories, but we're starting to see more internationally focused consumer brands and B2B commerce companies as well. The new wave of AI startups will only accelerate this trend. Over 50% of new startups launched in India are likely to be global from day one. As Gen Next, you are digital natives and have the innate ability to not only navigate technologies like AI and machine learning to make your own life easier, but also invent and innovate to move businesses forward. Already, great things are happening at FedEx on this front. Earlier this year, we launched FedEx Innovation Lab with the goal to cultivate and collaborate with rising early-stage digital startups in India as well as the wider region to build smart logistics for all. This leads me to my final point here today. The third trend that is emerging is that entrepreneurs and startups will be purpose-driven and will build to address bigger economic, societal, and environmental issues caused by shifting demographics and climate change. It's evident that the world is undergoing a drastic change. It's alarming to hear that at least 85% of the global population has experienced extreme weather events caused by climate change. Robert Swan, one of the world's greatest explorers, famously said, "The greatest threat to our planet is the belief that someone else will save it." The present state of our environment is clearly a reminder of the urgent need for collective action. To prevent climate catastrophe, businesses must shift towards sustainable operations and products. Numerous studies have indicated that companies are increasingly prioritizing their sustainability goals. Sustainability is a business imperative today and will remain so for years to come, as we know the path to carbon neutral cannot be built overnight. For future entrepreneurs like you, building a purpose-driven, sustainable business is an impactful opportunity. To achieve this, many young entrepreneurs are increasingly looking for solutions and business partners who share the same values, from sourcing and packaging to sustainable operations and green financing. This aligns with the UN 2030 sustainability agenda, which encourages businesses to consider the social, economic, and environmental consequences and leads to conscious choices in terms of the trade-offs, synergies, and new solutions. FedEx is a people-focused, purpose-driven organization. We share the same beliefs as many of you do. We are committed to connecting people with possibilities in responsible and resourceful ways. Over the past 13 years, we have been proactively disclosing our ESG strategies and initiatives to the public and our stakeholders, and we are proud to be the leader and forerunner in the logistics industry by setting an ambitious goal of achieving carbon neutral operations by 2040. That's 10 years ahead of the goals set by the Paris Climate Agreement. Not only do we invest in our own operations to become more sustainable, knowing the challenges facing resources lean enterprises when building sustainable operations, we launched FedEx Sustainability Insights recently to help SMEs track their carbon emissions within their supply chains and plan a greener, more sustainable operation. Of course, achieving this bold goal cannot be done by FedEx alone. That's why collaborations across the ecosystem are so critical. We see a real need to help nurture next-gen business leaders with critical skills to build future-ready, purpose-driven businesses for the betterment of our people, our communities, and our planet. And we're committed to supporting small businesses with good causes to thrive in the global stage. For instance, in Thailand, we have been working with an inspiring entrepreneur who built a social enterprise that employs local female population to create eco-friendly beeswax wraps for food storage and other organic, non-plastic based products and sell them to global customers. In doing so, not only does the business help reduce waste from single-use plastics, but it also creates employment in rural areas and promotes women's empowerment. In India, we are working with Social Alpha, a multi-stage innovation, curation, and venture development platform for science and technology startups to launch the FedEx and Social Alpha Accelerator for sustainable last-mile logistics. This program aims to identify and accelerate the growth of startups who have showcased promising innovations in electric bicycles that deliver both excellent user experience as well as service quality. Examples like these are plentiful. Remember, you're never too small to make a big impact. As leaders around the world place more emphasis on sustainable business practices, there will be strong growth in climate and equality-focused startups in our region. And I encourage you to be part of that growing entrepreneur community. Being an entrepreneur requires more than expertise and digital know-how. It needs burning passion, dedication, and a commitment in every step you take. FedEx was a young company 50 years ago. It all started from a term paper written by our founder, Frederick W. Smith, who envisioned building a revolutionary way to transport time-sensitive shipments. Although he received an average grade for his paper, Mr. Smith was not deterred. On April 17, 1973, we began operations in Memphis, Tennessee, with 389 team members. That night, 14 aircraft delivered 186 packages to 25 US cities. Today, 50 years later, FedEx has the most extensive express transportation network in the world, serving more than 220 countries and territories. So it all starts with thinking about what you care about, where your passion lies, and what keeps you motivated every day and drives you to succeed. Finally, let me leave you with one thought. entrepreneurship is all about building resilience and the willingness to learn from failure. In the words of FedEx founder Fred Smith, fear of failure must never be a reason not to try something. I encourage all of you to be brave and break new ground. Thank you.
All right, thank you so very much, Kami. That was an amazing presentation, and I think I speak for all of us when I say there's so much there to learn. I mean, you've walked the talk, you've been through so much, so Kami, I mean, so many insights that you shared with us. That's amazing. Now, we've allotted some time for our student finalists to share some follow-up questions. And okay, I understand that people can't hear me. Okay, I think we're back. All right, everyone can hear me? Great. Well, I was just saying thank you so very much, Kami. That was incredible. You shared so many nuggets of wisdom with us. Incredible stuff. You've walked the talk. And so, you know, myself, all of our students, we learned so much. We've allotted a little bit of time for our students to share some follow-up questions. So I would still encourage our students to share their questions in the chat. But we've got a couple queued up. So Kami, if you're ready, I'll read them to you, and please share your responses. I'm sure we're looking forward to what you have to say. So one of the questions is asking, one of our students is asking, should startups think and act locally or globally from the get-go, from the outset, or both? How do you recommend students think about that? Is it a false paradox? What's the way to sort of conceptualize that?
Sure. Thanks for that question. I think it's a great one, and it's something that most startups grapple with. I think today you have the opportunity and the technology to support more global thinking. So when you're building a product or a service or solving a problem for customers, you have the ability to think about how can you scale that to global markets, to consumers across the world, to businesses across the world. But remember that what's very important in building a startup is to establish that what you're building actually meets customer needs. So from that point of view, you might want to start local in trying to understand and refine what customers want and what that means for your product or service, so that you're able to build a more robust offering that you can then, over a period of time, think about scaling more globally. So I would say think global, but act local to start with, and then build from there on. Hope that helps.
Okay, great. That's a great question and a wonderful response, Kami. And I think you mentioned as well during your presentation that idea of, you know, we do live in an increasingly interconnected world. And so starting with that local perspective, solving for that, but then thinking about how your solution, your product, your service could scale up and reach a much larger audience, I think is the right way to think about that. So wonderful advice. We've got another question here, and we got a couple different versions of the same question, so it must be front and center for many of our students. And a lot of our students were wanting to know, how should young entrepreneurs focus on creating a unique and innovative product, something that stands out from the crowd? We know this is a big part of branding. It's important, but how can students bake that in from the get-go?
Sure. So I think it's good that you're thinking about how do you build a unique, differentiated product, because that is really the core of the value you bring to a customer. In terms of how you might go about that, I think it starts with what is the problem you're trying to solve. So clearly, when you start thinking about a product or a service, there is a problem in the market that you're seeing or experiencing that you want to solve. And I think when you think about what that problem is and how your solution addresses that problem in a way that is simple, easy to use, and cost efficient, and something that maybe enables a customer to think about how can I adopt this, and how can I then promote this to people in my network, people that I know. I think that is the kind of excitement that you want to build in a customer about the product or service that you're building. So I think it's all about keeping it simple, keeping it efficient, and keeping it something that has the potential to scale. Hope that helps.
All right, great stuff, Kami. Again, one of the takeaways I heard there, I just emphasize for our students, is simplicity, not only in terms of the idea, the concept, but also execution, which again, for many of you is going to be something you're thinking about as you come up with your concepts in the coming days. So great advice there from Kami. I hope everyone was taking notes. I think we've got time for one or two more. One of the questions, Kami, that students are also curious about, and it's a little bit linked, I suppose, to the first question, is how should startups navigate local regulations? Again, is this something they should think about in terms of where they incorporate? What are your thoughts on this?
Sure. So I think being compliant with the regulatory environment is very important for startups. And you want to make sure that the way you're setting up is compliant with local requirements, with potentially cross-border requirements as you think about serving multiple markets, trade requirements, and other regulations around taxation, around repatriation of funds, and so forth. I think when you start, I would say, again, keep it simple. Start in a local market. Start with a single entity that you can build the business in. And then as you go forward in your journey, and as you have potentially external investors coming in and other stakeholders coming in, they will also be able to provide you with insights on what is the best way for you to set up your startup. But remember that there is no two ways about compliance. Compliance is most important, and that's something that you want to build into the DNA of your startup from day one. Thanks.
All right, great stuff, Kami. Thank you. If I may, I'd like to just ask one final question myself. You've shared so many things. It's given me a lot to think about. Made me wish I was a little bit younger, a little bit more entrepreneurial at a younger age. But one of the things I'd like to ask you about is, how important is it to just get started? I mean, I think sometimes, obviously, it's important to think about what kind of product you want to build, what market you want to enter into, what problem are you solving for. But I think it's also sometimes the case that people who want to start a business can overthink things, and there's almost analysis paralysis. So how much learning on the job can take place, and how much do you need to do beforehand? How would you think about that, and what advice might you share with our students?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. And there is definitely a balance between planning and research and analysis and development of your proposition, and then the point where you actually start to execute. And this balance is important because a lot of times you learn by doing in the context of a startup. So if you're looking to take a product to market, start with a minimum viable product, something that you believe has the very basic features a customer needs to solve the problem that you're trying to solve. It need not be the most refined or robust product. It need not be the most sophisticated. So long as you have a minimum product and you're able to take it to market, you have the opportunity to get feedback from customers, And you can fine-tune your approach based on what you're hearing back. And I think that's how you end up building something that actually has a good product market fit, as opposed to something that you or your team might believe is a great product, but at the end of the day, maybe doesn't exactly meet market needs. So to mitigate that risk, which is a big risk, it's important to get to market when you feel you have a basic proposition, work with a few customers who are willing to co-develop the product with you and build from there. And I think that helps you to come out of this analysis paralysis that was alluded to just a little bit earlier, and also learn from your customers and build a product together with your customers. Thanks.
All right. Well, thank you so very much to our students for those wonderful questions. And of course, it goes without saying, I mean, Kami, that was amazing. We learned so much from you, and we really look forward to welcoming you back on the third and final day at the awards ceremony on Wednesday. Thank you so much, Kami. Let's give her a round of applause. Thank you, Kami.
Thank you so much, and all the very best to all of you.
Thank you very much.